Welcome everyone to episode 17 of This Week in Geek. My name is Ren Geekness. I am, as always, co-joined by my co-host Zach Pope. How are you doing today, Zach?
I'm good, man. I'm getting over my cold, but I'm surviving. So, what about you?
I'm doing better, thank you very much. And of course, as you can see, we are not hosting the show alone today. We got a guest today. Not only is this gentleman a good friend of mine that now it's been like half a year since we first met in person, but I have to shout him out for this because he's also a member of the channel. This is my friend from Portugal, Manuel. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where can people find you, because I will add the links to the pinned comment after the video is live.
Yeah, thanks, Ren. First of all, finally, I'm able to to join you guys. I've been following you for a while, and I've been constantly bothering Ren for a spot here with you guys. I'm happy to discuss the first half of the year. But yeah, you can find me on all social media at MSP Reviews. I've been writing right now for firstshowing.net and Filmhounds as well, and a couple of Portuguese media. And yeah, I'm here to join you guys to talk about the best movies of 2022 so far.
Yeah, I would say it's been a really good year so far. I'm not ready to call it great yet, but overall, I think we've had the margin overall leverages towards quite good, I would say, just looking overall at the average. I haven't been at Sundance. I know you both attended Sundance virtually, so you've seen a few more movies than I did. But I would say this has been quite a good year. So that will be our main discussion throughout the first half or the first hour of the show, everyone. We will count down our top 10 movies of the year. We do want to get to your questions that I left on my community tab, so feel free to add some on there. But this first half will be our top 10 movies of the year. I'm sure we're going to have quite a few in common. But for starters, we're going to do the classic and give you guys our weekly ranking. I didn't watch too much this week. I've been busy reviewing the Thor movies in anticipation for Love and Thunder. The Ragnarok review is ready. It drops on Monday. I also have another review for a Netflix movie coming very soon. I'll drop it on Tuesday. But for this week, the worst thing that I watched really was The Minions. I went to watch it yesterday, and it's pretty watchable, I would say. But it's one of those films that is so worried about not boring its audience. It ends up feeling like there's too much going on, but at the same time, not much happens. So that's my bottom, and I would say it's quite watchable. It's better than the first one, and I know that's not saying much, but it's better than the first one. Over that, I'm going to have The Princess. This dropped yesterday on Hulu for my American friends, and on Disney Plus for me and Manuel. And it's a solid watch. It's raunchy, it's tongue-in-cheek, it's got gore, it's got all kinds of violence, and it's a medieval sort of one-location actioneer. So I had a good time with it. It's nothing to write home about, but if you're bored and want to have a quick 90-minute watch of something that is kind of energized and you're into action and violence, I think this is up your alley. Over that, I have Watcher. I finally got to watch this because I believe it's on Shudder over here, and it's a familiar tropey thriller that knows exactly what it's doing. It's directed very well by a debuting feature director, which is very impressive. I think the final 20 minutes are kind of underwhelming, but again, nothing to write home about. But if you're into the genre, if you want to see a brand new filmmaker exercising all the familiar beats of a genre, but in a very good way, in an expert almost way, this is one you should watch. On top of that, Ms. Marvel, episode 4. This is the best episode since the premiere for me. Really, really good. Everything that I had issues with in episode 3, this episode kind of repeats similar beats, but it does it in a way that I don't have so many issues with. And it gives us a great cliffhanger towards episode 5. And the best thing I watched this week, as it has been every week since it has come out, it's The Boys. I am ready, unless they really fuck up the finale, to say that this is the best season of The Boys. I'm going to be watching the finale tomorrow. We'll be preparing a review for the entire season because I didn't review it episode to episode, but I'll be preparing a review for the entire season to drop on Thursday, right before the finale drops, because I really want to talk about the season because, again, unless they really fuck everything up, looking back on the entire season, this for me is the best season of The Boys. Zach, what do you got?
All right. So coming down to the bottom.
By the way, I haven't seen Stranger Things, so no spoilers, anyone. I've seen episode 8, but I have not seen episode 9. So, all right, continue, Zach. Sorry.
Perfect. So down to the bottom is The Man from Toronto. Watched this last week, like the first movie of the week. I only watched it because I didn't want to think about anything. I knew Netflix didn't really want me to think about this film, so I just kind of threw it on because they didn't tell anyone that this was coming out.
It's so bad. I mean,
so yeah, I mean, it was fine. Like,
yeah,
I don't even remember it really. Maybe that was because I was sick. Maybe it was because it was boring. But if it wasn't for Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart, I probably would have stopped watching. Honestly,
exactly.
Like it was. There's one really cool action scene in it, but it's
20 minutes from the end.
Yeah, so not great.
Yeah.
Not even good. It's really the definition of fine.
But it's something you put in the background.
Exactly. Up next, I have Minions: The Rise of Gru. Now, I love the first two Despicable Me's with my whole entire heart. I love those movies so much. And I saw the Minions movie, the first one, and I hated it. I hated it so much, made me I never even watched the third Despicable Me. I was done with this franchise. So I went into this film pretty with like low expectations, like not even excited, just I'm doing it to do it. And I watched it and I thought I actually really enjoyed it. Hour and 20-minute movie that entertains you. And what can I say? I was entertained. So I enjoyed this one actually quite a bit. Next, I have Thor Ragnarok. I just rewatched it. I hadn't rewatched it for a while, but I enjoyed it a little bit more than the last time I had watched it. It's still not great. I still have a lot of issues with it because of how many jokes are per minute. Like it's just a joke. It's a joke. And you can totally
and where
tell,
they
like,
are within the story.
Exactly. And Taika said that they improv'd a ton in this film.
Yeah.
You can see, like, this is improv. And yes, I have seen Thor: Love and Thunder. I can't talk about it.
I haven't. I don't want to know anything. There will be a question about that, and I'll take my headphone out for you to talk about it.
But yeah. And then number one for the week. Well, I guess number two technically The Boys, but I didn't watch it this week. I saw it a while ago, and I have not watched Miss Marvel episode 4 yet. I did not stay up till midnight for that one. I stayed.
Well, sorry, there's a cliffhanger. I spoiled a little bit there.
Oh, I don't care.
It's a good cliffhanger.
But my number one of the week is Stranger Things. I've actually seen the finale twice now. I loved it that much. So that's just me. I'm not going to say anymore because you haven't seen it yet. But as of right now, this is the one show I'm actually not worried about them fucking up the finale. Like I actually really believe that the final season, they'll put their heart and soul into that thing. That's what makes me, less nervous about it. So, but yeah, that's my number one.
Well, what you got?
Yeah, I think I think everyone starts with The Man from Toronto at the end of the list.
Yeah.
I just watch it. Just Zach said it perfectly. It's fine. If I wrote that, I remember writing or tweeting about it. There's two kinds of spectators: the ones that can't possibly tolerate movies like this because they're just way too dumb, and there are spectators that you can just put it on a Sunday afternoon and just watch it. It passes the time, and if you like Woody Harrelson and Kevin Hart, it's might be funnier than for most people. But yeah, I mean, it's just fine. However, I only watched Elvis and the Black Phone this week as well.
Okay.
And
that's fine.
I really fall in the minority regarding these two. I mean, I'm not the biggest. I remember talking with Jacob Thornberry about how it's very lonely to be a Baz Luhrmann, not hater, but I'm not the biggest fan of him, and I think it's that a bit lonely. So I wasn't very excited for the movie. I don't know Elvis I'm not a fan of Elvis in real life or his songs or his career. I didn't know anything about the movie as well. So maybe it was kind of my fault that I didn't really enjoy it as much as I could, but I couldn't get on with the editing. I think it's very messy, but I understand that it kind of I know that Baz kind of tried to emanate Elvis energy throughout the editing and all that, but I just think it didn't work for me. The Black Phone, I was really excited for it. It underwhelmed me.
I
I know
think
I don't
I'm a
know.
little bit with you on the Black Phone. I think I like it a little bit more than you from what I read on your
Mhm.
tweets, but I felt similar to you. Like, I like it. I think it's a good movie, but I was underwhelmed by it.
Yeah, I think it was just I've been trying to avoid early tweet reactions just because
Same.
people have been hyping up so much everything. And I remember, like, before going to the Black Phone, and you know that I avoid trailers at all costs. I didn't watch a
Yep.
thing about it, and the only thing that I knew was that people were loving it and calling it the best horror movie of the year. And I just went with so high expectations that I guess disappointed is a strong word, but I was hoping that the story would go in a much more creative direction, and I felt it was very generic.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't enjoy it again as much as I could, same as Elvis. But yeah, I mean, these were two movies that I'm not negative about on them, far from that. But I wish I could have enjoyed it more. I just finished Miss Marvel episode 4 right
Yeah.
like 10 minutes ago, so
All right.
I don't have like solid thoughts on it. But I think you touched on something that I felt the same about it, which was the issues from episode 3. I
Hmm.
think the episode 3 had a lot of exposition. It added a lot of story into it, and I think this episode does it again with the Red Dagger, a lot of new characters as well. And I still felt that it was a bit too much. But
Okay, that's fair.
but I'm thinking of rewatching the last two episodes because I feel like it's just a first viewing issue. I think once you
Mhm.
see where they're going, I think that if I rewatch those two episodes, I think I'm going to be fine with it. And I still have high hopes for the last two episodes.
All
But
right.
my number one this week, I'm binging it the whole show, the whole season this weekend. Stranger Things. I'm on chapter 5, so I'm a little
Okay.
behind compared to you guys. but
Oh, so you waited? You didn't watch Volume One when it
yeah,
came out? Just okay. Okay, got
I
it.
waited until now to binge watch the whole 9 episodes. And
Yeah, that's fair.
oh man, I remember I watched episode 3 last night, and I was like, oh, you know what? Sadie Sink is really great, you know. And then I
And
watched
episode
episode
4.
4, and I was like, yep,
Yep.
yep, yep. She's really, really incredible. I mean, I've been ever since Millie Bobby Brown basically showed up on the first season of Stranger Things that I was like, okay, this is like my number one bet for the youngest actress to ever win the Best Actress award at the Oscars, and I was like, she's gonna do it. And now I'm like, maybe Sadie Sink might have a better chance at it. But yeah, I mean, this is my weekly ranking. I'm super excited to finish the show. The first season was always my favorite, but if the last 4 episodes if they nail them, it can be my favorite season. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Because from Volume One to Volume Two was the first time I was like hyped for Stranger Things. Because Stranger Things has always been a show I like, I enjoy watching, but I've never been like hyped for the next season or in this case volume to come out. But from Volume One to now these final 2 episodes of Season 4, I've been like, I really want to get these episodes done. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And now let's go to your guys's weekly rankings. We start with Eric Thorpe. My weekly ranking: number 1, The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. Number 2, Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 7. So the final episode from the first volume. Number 3, Elvis, and number 4, Ms. Marvel Episode
I finally
1.
see Elvis tomorrow. I still have not seen it.
I'm gonna rewatch it tonight. Gonna go for a second time. João Magalhães says top 5 of the week for me: Ms. Marvel episode 4. No, Ms. Marvel at number 5. Number 4, HBO's Spielberg documentary. I don't know what this is, but just the description has me curious. Number 3, Top Gun rewatch. Number 2, The Village. I'm not a fan of The Village, but I also wouldn't say it's a bad movie. And number 1, Stranger Things season 4, volume 2. Tony Movie Chappie, weekly ranking for number 5, Draft Day. Number 4, The Other Women. Number 3, Letter to Juliet. Number 2, Matchstick Men. Number 1, rewatch Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, one of the best science fiction movies of the last decade. Amen to that. Probably my favorite sci-fi movie of the last decade, and the original Blade Runner is the greatest sci-fi movie ever made. So good ranking there. Let's just see if we have any others. Oh, we had a jump. I apologize. And I see Gico EP. Okay, my weekly ranking. Number 8, Ms. Marvel episode 4. I still really liked it, but something has to go last. Number 4, Hustle. I'm assuming it's the it's the Adam Sandler movie because the other one's not called Hustle. Number 6, The Orville New Horizons. I'm behind on that. Number 5, The Boys season 3 episode 7. Number 4, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's one of Scott Derrickson's, one of his first movies, I believe. Yeah,
I think it was his first, actually. I thought his first.
No, he directed something before that. I don't remember what it was though. I'm pretty sure though. Number 3, Ted Happy. Oh, Ted Happy 10th anniversary to the Thunder Buddies. Number 2, Stranger Things season 4 volume 2. What a great finale. Number 1, Ratatouille or Ratatouille. Watched it for the 15th anniversary. Still great. Ratatouille, an underrated Pixar movie. Everyone says it's good, but it never quite gets the hype, I guess, it deserves. And that is it for weekly rankings. All right, let's move on then. Thank you so much for sharing your weekly rankings. Let's move on then to our top 10s. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to start it off. I'm going to give you my number 10 through number 5. I'm sure that will generate some discussion with Zach having some questions or thoughts, Manuel having some questions or thoughts. Then Zach will give his 10 through 5 discussion, and then Manuel with his 10 through 5. And then we'll go from number 5 to 1 with a little bit more elaboration. All right, so starting us off at my number 10, top 10 best movies of the year so far. At number 10, we have Fresh. This is the best horror movie of the year, if you ask me. There's another kind of horror movie in there, but this is like pure horror movie with a little bit of black comedy in there. Number 9, The Fallout. It's one of those films that no one else is talking about it, but so I need to talk about it a lot because this film is quite good, and it's the best performance Jenna Ortega has given this year, and she has given quite a few great performances so far. And at number 8, I was excited for this film, but I never guessed it would be in my top 10, not even halfway through the year, and that is Michael Bay's Ambulance. Heat and Speed, they had a baby. That baby is on steroids and cocaine daily. That's Michael Bay's Ambulance, and I really, really had a kick with this movie. Number 7, I don't know how unpopular this will be, but Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is a blast in creativity and in adrenaline, much more cohesive than Michael Bay's Ambulance in terms of adrenaline. That's why it edges it out. Michelle Yeoh, at this point, I would give her the best lead actress nomination. I would give someone else the win probably, even though the other movie itself is not in my top 10. But this is the Daniels just going all out, even though I still don't think this is their best movie out of the 2 I've seen them do. But this is as good as you've heard. It didn't quite hit me as emotionally as it did so many other people, though I understand how it worked for them in that sense. So this is a film that is extremely creative, that I had issues being compelled by, which is the difference from this being my number 7, and now at my number 6, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Creative, and it has issues, but I was always compelled by it. That's the thing that just slightly edges it above Everything Everywhere All at Once for me. These are movies that I gave a B plus, and I even have some others over it that I only gave a B plus. These are really, really, really good movies that just don't quite get to great, in my opinion. Gentlemen, any thoughts? Any questions? Anything you want to bounce off?
If I had seen the Fallout this year, it would be in my top 10. But since I saw it last year, it's not in mine. That's the only reason. Because when it comes down to movies for 2022, I've said it, like, the really great movies this year are really fucking great. The movies that suck this year really fucking suck. And the movies that disappoint really disappoint. This is a weird year where, like, there's some really great movies. And everyone's gonna have like the same ones besides a couple, because there were a lot of ones that maybe didn't hit some people in the way that others did. So, yeah, solid list so far, though.
All right. Well,
same. I mean, I guess everyone's surprised at the one movie that everyone expected to be on top 5. But yeah, I mean, it's on your top 10. I didn't. Zach, you said you watched the Fallout last year, but was it on your top 10 of 2021?
It wasn't, but it was in like top 15. It was pretty high up there. I really liked it.
All right. With that being said, Zach, what is your 10 through 5?
All right. So my 10 through 5. My number 10 is Men. This is a film that seems like people hate it, love it, or just could not give one fuck about it. I'm a big fan of Alex Garland, so this was one of my more anticipated films. Never saw a trailer, didn't even know what it was about going in. And while the message is pretty obvious, I just love this movie. I think a lot of it goes to the performances. Rory Kinnear is scary as hell in here. And Jessie Buckley's great, but I really love what Alex Garland does as a director. It's my least favorite film of his, but I still really enjoyed Men. At my number 9, Chippendale Rescue Rangers. This is my comfort film for 2022.
That's my number 13. Just missed my number 2, my top 10.
Cute. And it's so funny and it's clever, and I want more. I want more. I want like 30 sequels to this. If you couldn't give me The Nice Guys as sequels, then this is my Nice Guys sequel.
That's
so
good.
Number 8, I can't say much about this film, but I can at least say where it's at. Thor Love and Thunder. I'm just gonna leave it there. It's at my number 8. I'll talk about it more next week. Number 7, Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I love this movie. I love it so much. It's kind of the perfect movie that like embodies like what happens when you're done with school and like what do you do next with your life. Like that weird, like, it's not a midlife crisis, but it's kind of like the beginning of your life crisis. And I loved what Cooper Raiff does in here. I think he is such a really good writer and director, and he's very, like, in his performances, very simple. So I loved this film so much. I've seen it about like 3 or 4 times, and I would definitely rewatch it again. And at my number 6, it's Buzz Lightyear. Lightyear was pretty much everything I wanted it to be and more. This is another film I only saw one trailer for and really much stayed away from everything else. And typically I don't do that, but there was something about this one where animated films typically don't have the longest runtime. So when you watch multiple trailers, you can start getting the gist of everything. I love this. And maybe it's because I got to see it in IMAX, but the IMAX experience for this was very reminiscent of a Christopher Nolan film. In the way that they used the IMAX ratio, because the entire film is in that ratio. It's really unique. And it makes me really sad that fucking Minions is probably going to outgross this entire film this weekend because of a fucking TikTok trend.
There's a TikTok trend for Minions?
Yep. So that's why a bunch of adults are going to see this film. So it's.
I mean, it was mid afternoon yesterday when I went to see it. It was like 4:50 p.m. and the screen wasn't big, but it was full of like teens and young adults. So yeah,
makes me really sad. But yeah, Lightyear's my number 6.
Before I give any thoughts, I do want to bring out a weekly ranking that came in late from Luis Feliciano. Number 5, Wonder Woman 1984 rewatch. Number 4, Once Upon a Time in the West 68. Number 3, True Grit 1969. This is one of those films where the remake is better in my opinion, though I do really enjoy the original. Number 2, Ms. Marvel episode 4, and number 1, Stranger Things volume 2. Everyone has it as their number 1, so I'm getting pretty hyped up. I'm going to be watching the final episode tomorrow.
And watch you be the one person that hates it.
Yeah, I hope not.
I hope not either.
I don't have many thoughts. All I will say is that I wish I could have liked Men. Like you said, there's three camps. Like people love it, people hate it, people don't give a fuck about. I'm actually on the latter. I'm like, I think it's fine. It's got gorgeous cinematography. His direction of actors is beautiful. Like the first 2 minutes into the film, I'm like, okay, I see your point. Are you going to elaborate on it? I don't think he does whatsoever. I don't think he goes any deeper than the surface and doesn't have anything enlightening or provocative to say about it. Where his other films always present the topic and then kind of dissect it in such a unique, elaborate way. Um, where I thought by the end of Men, I'm like, okay, I got this. I know this is the case. Why isn't the film? And it's not even just that. It's that the film beats you over the head, not even with what it's trying to say, but like what it is about. It's so obvious. Like there's no. I feel about Ex Machina and about Annihilation. You get out of it and you can have conversation about what does it mean? What was he trying to say? There's so many possibilities. With Men, it's like, yeah, and the film is about that. There's discussions to be had about what the film is talking about. There's no discussion about the film itself, I feel. And that is what disappointed me about Men. I still have it like halfway through my list. I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd because I watched it very late, so I didn't review it. But I have it just slightly at my number 50. I've seen 95 movies this year. It's like at my number 50, so right around the middle, slightly above Jurassic World Dominion. So I found these, even though I think Jurassic World Dominion might be more rewatchable, because it is more fun with all its flaws, but Men is just better crafted. I feel it's just not very good with anything beyond that, I felt. Noel, anything to add?
Yeah, happy to see Chacha so high. We have like almost the same position. Also, just not regarding our top 10, but Minions is the third best box office of all time in Portugal. Just so you know.
Okay.
So I expect like
The first one or the new one already?
The first one.
The first one or the new one already?
No, the first one.
Okay.
And I know this because we're making a bet at work for what film's going to make the most money at the box office. I chose Top Gun. My friend chose Thor. Then my other friend chose Minions. And I was like, there's no way he's going to win. And then I went and looked at Minions and like the records it had set. China's another one, man, where it made a ton of money for some reason. So people love their Minions, apparently, especially out of the States.
Portugal is Minions and Fast and Furious. We just give them all the box office. Space.
Imagine when they do Minions with Fast and Furious.
Is
that
the
$1
same
billion
studio.
film just in Portugal?
No, because we don't have enough people to make it $1 billion, but it'll be close probably.
No, I think our top one are the first move. The best box office of all time in Portugal is The Lion King, the remake, and then it's Avatar, and the Lion King made less than 2 million. So, Portugal, you know. But yeah, I don't have many questions. Just happy to see Chacha and especially the Lightyear so high. I also love Lightyear. It's probably my number 11 or 12. But I also watched it in IMAX, and I think it's the first. I mean, obviously, it's the first Pixar movie that I ever seen at the theater, and it was like a big. It felt like
it's the first one in IMAX. They'd never done an IMAX film.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Not the last time we'll be talking about Lightyear. All right, what's your number 5 through 10? Number 10 through 5.
Okay, my number 10 is Morbius. No, I'm kidding. My number 10 is X. At the time, I remember again, I went to see that theater, didn't expect much from it, and I was very surprised. I love how it pays homage to the 70s, 80s classic slashers while simultaneously tackling important themes related to sexual pleasure and freedom, age, self-acceptance in a deeper and more intelligent screenplay than meets the eye. I think a lot of people watch it just for the sake of gore and whatever, but I think it's a very intelligent screenplay. Loved what Ty West does with it. Mia Goth is freaking amazing in the movie, and I was one of those people who just found out like days after watching it that she actually played a double role, and I was like, oh, okay.
I found out through your tweets.
Really?
So when you were shocked, I'm like,
Well,
okay.
so it's funny. I watched it that night, but my friend in California had gone to a Q&A screening with the director there. And so I left and I called him and I was like, hey, like, tell me your thoughts. And he goes, dude, did you know Mia Goth played the old lady? And I said, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, that was her. And then he goes, yeah, and they're doing a prequel already. They showed us the trailer there. Did you stay after the credits? And I'm like, no. He goes, yeah, at the end of most credits it's supposed to be there. But I think for Ren, it wasn't in yours, right?
No, we didn't get. The UK apparently did not get that copy. The copy with the post-credit scene, unfortunately.
Okay.
And stupidly enough, they still haven't shared the like legit official version of the trailer online, which is.
I think it would have been smart to release the film this year. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it does. I've seen it.
And they
I've
still
seen
might.
the trailer.
It's just weird that they haven't released, like A24 hasn't released. Hey, here's the trailer for Pearl.
It's out. It's not even on the Blu-ray. You think it would have been like on the Blu-ray too? So
that's very weird. But yeah, Love X, not my number 10. Number 9. I don't know if the cycle might have this on its top 5 or not. I don't know his opinion on it. But After Young, I really,
that's my number 11. My number 11.
God damn it. It's a movie that I really liked when I watched it at Sundance, and throughout the past few months, by just listening to the score, which I think it's the best score of the year so far, I just was like, man, I really need to watch this movie again, because I feel like I gave it a B+ at the time, but I was in festivals, we jumped from one movie to another, and I don't think I was able to actually let it just have more thoughts about it. I think it has some pacing issues, or I had some pacing issues with it, but I mean the storytelling and Asuka's score is just incredible. It led me to tears. I think the acting is great. I think it still has the best opening sequence of all year. Just amazing.
Oh, the dancing, yeah. It's my number 73, just so I can. Yeah, I didn't care for it too much, sadly.
No, but I
wish I could.
Yeah, say it. Yeah, I really like it. I think it sometimes it loses itself on those gorgeous white shots. I think sometimes it extends itself for a little bit, but it's still memorable nonetheless. At my number 8, Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I watched this like a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when it premiered on Apple TV Plus. And look, it's just in my experience, it's very authentic just because it has some details that I have a girlfriend who also has. She doesn't have an autistic child, but she's the grandmother of how do you call it, the godmother of an autistic child. And ever since I met her, that I've had to learn how to deal with her and then to talk with her, how to behave around her, and I learned so much about it. And the movie has the tiniest little details that you wouldn't ever imagine being in a movie, because it's so authentic, so detailed, that it made me genuinely remember of when I first meet that girl. And Cooper Rife, just like Zach said before, his writing feels so real, feels so genuinely real, that you just get you connect with the characters at such a deep level that you just watch the movie as if it's your own life. You connect with it so much, so it had to be on my top 10. At number 7, I have Scream. I really love Scream.
That's still on my number 12, so it wasn't far off from my own.
I think it's a brilliant requel, as they call it. I think the meta commentary, I don't know if it was just the timing, of when it came out or not, but I just love that, with their approach on toxic fandoms and social media and all that. I think it's perfect. I really liked what they did with it. I haven't rewatched it since, which is weird, because at the time I thought it was going to be a very rewatchable movie, and I still think it is. I just didn't have the time to rewatch it, but I probably will do it as soon as I have time. I really enjoyed it. And finally, at my number 6, Fresh. Just like Rand said, I don't think it's not my it's not the best horror movie of the year for me because I have a Sundance movie that it's yet to come out in August that I don't know if Zach has on his top 5 or not, um, but yeah, it's my second favorite horror movie of the year. It was an extremely shocking start to the Sundance Film Festival this year. I think it holds all of the characteristics to end up as one of my absolute favorites this year. I don't know if it's gonna get out of my top 10 or not. I think it's a brilliant directorial debut from Mimi Cave. Sebastian Stan showed, his ludicrous range. I think Daisy Edgar Jones gives a breakthrough performance. I don't know if there was an award. I guess there are awards for breakthrough performances. I think she probably has a good chance of being nominated. She also has
She's in a lot this year. She's in a lot this year. This is her year,
She
man.
has another movie now coming out, Where the Crawdads Sing, I think.
I've actually seen that, so...
Yeah? It only comes out in Portugal, I think in September or whatever, but
really?
I'm very excited for it.
She's really good in it. The social media embargo's up. She's really, really good in it. She's great.
Yeah,
and she was in the Under the Banner of Heaven, the Andrew Garfield show.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, that's my 10 through 6.
Nice.
All right. So now my 5 through 1. In fact, let's do it the other way around. Manuel, why don't you start now with your 5 through...
Fine. Okay. My number 5, Turning Red. I think
awesome.
of all, at the time when I wrote this, I thought maybe this is an overreaction, but now that time has passed, I still think this. I believe it's the riskiest, possibly the most divisive work in Pixar history. Of all the movies, I don't remember another Pixar film that generated such heated debate online, even in Portugal, and Ren will know this, that we barely have. Of all the 10 controversies that come out like every month, Portugal cares about one, and we get over it like a day after, and Turning Red, you have no idea for how long I had to discuss this film, around Facebook and all that. I mean, I think Domi Shi and Julia Cho unapologetically approach the sensitive topic, in this case of female puberty, and I think that a lot of people look at or a lot of families and parents look at Pixar as just this kind of more how do you call it, innocent and friendly movies that you can just show to kids and not even pay attention, maybe because it's all positive messages, and Turning Red has positive messages. But since it deals with a very sensitive topic, a lot of people were a bit on the fence about it. I loved it. I think it's amazing that you can have an animated film that targets basically, the teenage years, 13-year-olds and whatnot. And I actually, even being a man and not being able to connect with directly, obviously, with many things that the movie shows, I think they do a great job of just showing how those years were. And I think if you don't have anything that you can connect with the characters or the movie itself, the story, I think then maybe you just have a very, very different puberty time. I don't know what to say. But I really loved it. I think it's one of the best movies of the year by far. My number 4, the one movie from Sundance that I was talking about, Resurrection.
Knew it.
I freaking love it. It was my number 1.
I can't wait for Ren to see this film.
It was my number 1 from Sundance. It's an exceptionally tense, frighteningly realistic psychological thriller, deeply elevated by a masterclass performance by Rebecca Hall. I know that she's not going to get any nomination when the award season comes out because horror genre, it's just not going to be seen by a lot of people. It's probably going to be one of the most overlooked movies of the year just because it's usually how it works. But, I mean, we can't beat it. In my opinion, it should be a major contender for the award season, but We all know it won't. I think it offers an unforgettable, mesmerizing, haunting display of a traumatized mother. Rebecca Hall has a 10-minute, I think, in uninterrupted
Yeah.
monologue.
Yep.
They're just it's hypnotizing. You just are not going to be able to blink your eyes during those 10 minutes. Tim Roth also gives a remarkably creepy performance. I really love him in this movie. The ending will be the one thing that will divide people. I loved it just because you can choose whatever you want. You can choose the best interpretation that suits you. So I don't think you can go wrong with this one. I think it premieres in first week of August, Zach. I think.
I think so as
So
well, and I think it's on
August
Shudder
5th.
out here. I think it's on Shudder out here.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't know if it premieres in theaters in Portugal, but I think it is. But yeah, I mean, do watch it. I think it's again. I highly doubt that it's going to be out of my top 10 by the end of the year. I really, really love it. 3, Top Gun Maverick. Look, I gave it an A minus when I watched it, and I'm kind of regretting it because I will definitely love it more than that. Look, it's the return of pure nostalgic blockbusters. It instantly became one of my year's personal favorites. The best aerial action sequences ever. It will amaze the highest expectations. Absolutely insane real stunts, but it's honestly, um, it honestly works because of the flawless contribution of all filmmaking elements. Because we know how Tom Cruise had to teach, the other actors cinematography and how to start the cameras and all that. But it's actually the screenplay. It's surprisingly emotional. I was very um, shocked that I was actually by the end of the movie I was genuinely tearing up. When they get to the how do you call it, the plane
The Death
air
Star.
carrier,
When we get to the ship.
The
when,
Death
when they
Star
get
they're
to the
heading
ship,
out to.
and you get like Miles Teller just hugging Glenn Powell and all that, and I'm like, yeah, it's so emotional. The score is epic as hell. I've been listening to it nonstop. Superior to the original in every way, and I actually like the original. I rewatched it before the
Same.
sequel,
Same.
and I rewatched it on the same day, and it just improved my experience. I watched it on
Yeah.
IMAX, just amazing from start to finish. Yeah, I mean, nothing that people don't know. Number 2, the Batman. Look, I
Facts.
honestly believe at the time I don't know if I watched it very late or not compared to other people, but many critics already shared their tweet reactions and all that. It definitely deserved the hype. I think it was the only movie, well, that and my number one, that I was worried about the hype, and it actually deserved it, and it surpassed my expectations. In a few years, when the trilogy is over, I think we are going to look back and think, yeah, this is really one of the best, if not like top 3 best Batman movies of all
Trilogies.
time. It depends obviously on what Matt Reeves will do with the other two. But I remember when with Batman Begins, I loved it when it came out, but only when the trilogy ended was I able to go back and really, really look at it as like, oh, okay, this is as good as The Dark Knight in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, the Batman, Matt Reeves, I think Robert Pattinson, for me, he didn't surprise me. I was really expecting that he was going to do a great performance. In my opinion, Greg Fraser's cinematography actually stole the show. I mean, never as independently of whatever people might think about the movie, I think it's the best looking Batman movie we've ever seen. I think it's probably the best sound design that we ever seen in a Batman movie as well. In my opinion, I watched it at IMAX. I was like just an immersive atmosphere from start to finish. It's unbelievable. Definitely a fair contender in the debate of best comic movies of all time. My number one, it's Ren number 7. Everything, everywhere, all at once. I watched it in a theater with 2 more people. And
Wow.
when that sequence with the rocks, you both watch it, right?
Yeah.
When that sequence with the rocks, just plain silence, I was like, when they start laughing and the subtitles show ha 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 ha. Ren will probably understand this, but in Portugal, I don't look at the subtitles. I
Okay.
only try to listen to the movie because the subtitles come in Portuguese, and often you can translate English to Portuguese like 100% accurate. So they kind of shift some words and they kind of replace the original sentence a bit. And during that, it's incredibly funny how during that silence sequence where we actually had text on the screen, the Portuguese subtitles were wrong compared to the English subtitles.
Oh shit.
And I was like, I don't remember the joke, but they genuinely ruined that joke in the Portuguese subtitles. And I was like the only one laughing in the theater. But yeah, I mean,
Man.
look, I highly doubt if someone doesn't have this movie in their top 10 of the year, even if it's at number 7 like Ram has, I would be I would be surprised. I think I already had loved Swiss Army Man from Daniels. I would think it was when it came out, it was overlooked. I was one of the few people who actually loved it and talked about it a lot. I'm
Same.
glad that Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably going to put the Daniels in the mainstream radar. I think they're going to get some big opportunity next. I don't know how happy I am for it. I don't know if I want him in a Marvel movie or whatever. I want him to keep doing what they're doing. But look, with such a low budget, it's almost humiliating that so many expensive Hollywood blockbusters can't even reach the hills of so much originality, imagination, excitement, emotion. Michelle Yeoh leads the troops in a film that also pays some homage to her iconic career.
Yeah.
At 59 years old, it's just ridiculous how many stunts she can actually do herself. The mother-daughter relationship is the emotional core of the story, follows a surprisingly predictable path, but I mean, it worked. I mean, I really, really love this movie. It's my number one. I don't know if it's gonna remain as my number one or not, but I don't know if there's a movie this year that surpasses this one. It has to be a magnificent film.
Yeah. All right, Zach, what do you got? 5 through 1.
I really love all your thoughts, man. Just as a heads up on that. So, and then just as a heads up for people who didn't know this, the Daniels were actually offered Loki before.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So I'm curious to see, if they go back and, hey, here's a lot more money. Would you like to do this instead?
I will say this: they were here in London, presenting a Q&A screening of Everything Everywhere All at Once the day before Loki season 2 starts shooting, also here in London.
Interesting.
So,
Who's doing Loki season 2? Isn't it the guys from?
We don't know. We don't know. That's the thing.
I thought the guys from Moon Knight were in charge of it.
Yeah, I think the writers are coming, but not directing wise. We don't know.
Huh. Interesting. All right.
What do you got, Zach?
So my number 5 is The Northman. This is a film that absolutely excels in so many different ways, and Robert Eggers crafted his masterpiece. I mean, this film for me was just a damn experience, and it sucks I only got to see it once in theaters. I wanted to watch it many more times, but it was pretty busy. The Northman is a very impressive film, top to bottom. Cinematography, story, all that sorts of stuff. It's Hamlet. That's fine. It's cool. It's a great story to retell in your own light. But again, Robert Eggers, it's his baby. Like this film was perfect. It's my favorite film of his. At my number 4, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I used to love these shorts as a kid. I love watching the YouTube channel stuff as a kid, but this feature film delighted me to no end. I thought it was just so adorable, cute, funny, and the mockumentary style that they decided to do was very unique. So I love it. If you have not seen Marcel, it's expanding this weekend. Absolutely go check it out. At my number 3, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. My 1 through 3 are all tied. There are some
Okay.
days that maybe Everything Everywhere at Once goes 1 and the rest goes 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, but right now I'm feeling 3 for this. My only like reason for putting this a little bit is it's a little bit too long. Like the last time I've seen it 5 times, and the last time I watched it, the length got to me a little bit, but there's just something spectacular about this film in the way that it's cohesive, even when like I can't even imagine looking at that script and being like, damn, I don't know how you keep all these different ideas and all formulating the amount of different movies that technically they were making at this. Michelle Yeoh is incredible, but for me, the big 2 standouts actually for me were the supporting actors, and that's Stephanie Hasu, I think, who plays the
Hisu, I
daughter,
think it's
Hisu,
how we say.
and then who is the dad? It's
K Kwan.
both phenomenal. If the Oscars were tomorrow, I would have them win both awards. And that doesn't go anything towards Michelle Yeoh, who's also incredible in this. It's just them two were the standouts for me. And Stephanie, I mean, seriously, she is fantastic in Miss Maisel, but she is excellent in this film. Like, she just goes wild, and I loved it. There's nothing more than I can say, you know, but I love this movie. My number 2, Top Gun Maverick. I really enjoyed the first Top Gun, but the second one, did I really think it was going to be that great? No. And then all the early buzz is like, no, this is really the real deal. So the hype started getting to me, and this is a film that I had only seen the first trailer for. I never had seen anything else for this, and I went in and I was just blown away. This is another one. I've only seen once, and it makes me really sad because I just have not had the time to go see it again. But it is, and I will say, the best theatrical experience I have seen in the theater since Avengers Endgame. And just if we're just talking pure movie, I think it's better than Endgame in the theater experience. Not including everyone screaming and hyping it up, but just seeing this film in a Dolby theater, it makes you feel like you are actually in the fucking cockpit. It's really impressive. So I love this movie. But at my number 1, I'm sure everyone's guessing it. I see it in the chat. It's The Batman. I don't think anything's going to beat this for me. Ren knew this was my most anticipated film of all time. Everything that kept coming out for it, I just kept getting more hyped, and it met my expectations. And I didn't think they would. I love this movie with my entire heart. It's my most rewatched film of this year, which is insane because of the runtime. But it's a film that it was everything I wanted it to be and more. Like that's just the easiest way to explain it. I'd go a little bit more for it, but I'm trying not to cough, so I'll leave it there. But that's my
No
number 1.
worries. All right, my 5 through 1, and it starts the trend of movies I have seen more than once in theaters this year. Actually, Doctor Strange started that trend, but and my number 5 I'll be rewatching later today, and my number 5 is Elvis. Everything in the editing, in the acting, in the writing, in the frantic pace of the film. It's rock and roll, it's soul, it's country, it's the 60s, it's everything that Elvis was. One of the things I love about this film is how genuinely different it is as a biopic. It has all the familiar structure, all the familiar beats, but it has so much more than that. It's not just the story of Elvis. It reinterprets the America that molded the young kid to becoming Elvis the superstar, but then it shows how he influenced America himself. It's a great tragedy of a superstar, how an icon is treated by his peers and by his people, and how we must look back on them in retrospect, because the whole film is molded as a tragedy. Like, there's no pretense about it that you're watching a glorious triumph of a man becoming a legend. You just know from the get-go, even if you don't know anything about Elvis, that this is going the wrong path. And I think that added some edge to the film that I really, really enjoyed. My number 4, Lightyear. I really, really love the profound themes of loss that this film tackles in the way that it tackles that. It chooses to focus more on being a blockbuster sci-fi adventure And as a blockbuster sci-fi adventure delivered through Pixar, it's such a fun time. If only it had been more of that man out of time losing everything and everyone that he loves, I think that would have edged it out to my number 3, my number 2, maybe even my number 1. But even so, with it not being quite great all around, that profound first hour, the themes it generally tackles in such a great way, and again, they literally get better from movie to movie. The best animation Pixar has put out, because it looks sensational. Lightyear is really one that should not be flopping at the box office and really should not get such mediocre reviews, I feel. At number 3, Robert Eggers' The Northman. I feel like he does everything with this story that I wish I could have seen Alex Garland doing with Men. This is a story that we know. This is a story that we've seen before, but this is so distinctly Robert Eggers with the best lead male performance of the year in Alexander Skarsgård, a surprisingly soulful, touching portrayal of a boy trapped within the beast's body in that search for revenge. I think it has a powerful ending. And yeah, it just does everything right. I still can't quite put into words what my issue with this film is, but there's just there's something slightly off with the pacing. I still can't put my finger on it. I've seen it 3 times, twice in the theater, and I just can't put it into words. There's just something I would adjust. It's not quite an issue, but it's just something that feels slightly off. At my number 2, The Batman. This was everything I could want and had not yet seen in a Batman movie. Matt Reeves crafts the most fragile portrayal of the Batman, and Robert Pattinson as well, but at the same time, the most intense, vitriolic version of the character, the most horror-centric version of the character. This is not a hero yet at the beginning of this film. This is the Batman being molded into the hero that we know him and love him to be. He is still a monster at the beginning of this film. He's still just a brutal vigilante that the people of Gotham, he might be as bad, if not worse, than the criminals he prosecutes. So I love this film. I've also seen it 3 times in theaters. I have the Blu-ray, but still need to rewatch it at home. And so this is everything I could want. Like Zach said, my top 3 by the end of the year might shift around, but as of right now, Batman number 2, my number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Seen it 5 times in the theater. No movie has pulled so many emotions, so many physically reactive emotions as this one did. It's not just another Legacy sequel, it's one that injects some commentary about Legacy into its screenplay. Like Manuel said, an emotional, rousing character arc for Maverick as a man who stays quite literally up in the air because he has nothing to ground him, because he has lost everything, filled with emotion, filled with some of the best action sequences of the entire year, the best aerial fighting sequences that we've ever seen. Not that the competition was steep, but now that Top Gun Maverick exists, anyone that does it from now has their work cut out for them. Just everything about this film really works for me, from the scene with Val Kilmer that has the right amount of drama and emotion without being too sentimental, and then a jab of humor that just feels natural to it, and the ending when they get back to the ship, and Goose says, "Thank you for saving my life." Maverick says, "Thank you for saving my life," and Goose says, "It's what my dad would have wanted." Just pouring tears out of my eyes. I love this movie. I cannot wait to watch it again. It's still playing in theaters, so I might go for a 6th time. I already have the Steelbook pre-order. So easily my number 1 of the year, because it's just the best experience I've had. All right. With that down, gentlemen, let's move on to your live questions, everyone. And that starts with, because we got half an hour to go. So, Gico EP, do you guys think Chris Pratt is a compelling lead? This is a topic that has been a debate, not only because the stupid hate he gets on Twitter, but also being cast as Mario and Garfield, and also Jurassic World Dominion and the Terminal List, which I heard that isn't great, sadly. I haven't seen Terminal List. I want to check it out. I'm curious. Being out now, do you think he can lead the movie? Obviously, I think he can. As much as the Guardians film are ensemble pieces, he is the main character and the glue of the team. Same with the Lego movie. It just depends on how characters are written, and that's what separates someone like James Gunn and Lord Miller to Colin Trevorrow. Not saying Pratt isn't a good actor, he is, but I'm guessing he is one of those actors who works well in their range, which for him is the charming, likable hero who's kind of a goofball instead of the tough as nails action hero. I think the last bit of your second paragraph really nails it. He has a kind of hero that he fits better than the other. I don't dislike him as the tough as nails action hero. I just think everyone else is already a tough as nail action hero, and Pratt really excels at being charmable, likable, but bit of a goofball. He was a tough as nails hero in the Tomorrow War. That worked, but that's the exception. That's not rule. As far as is he a compelling lead? Yeah, he's a compelling lead. He can be a compelling lead. Also, like you said, it depends on how the character is written. Like Tom Hanks. I know it's a weird example, but stick with me here. Tom Hanks. Like when I tell you Tom Hanks plays a villain in Elvis, you're like, Tom Hanks could never be unlikable. I thought that too, and then I watched Elvis. Yes, he can. Very well, very naturally. So it just really depends on the material. Am I saying Chris Pratt is as good of an actor as Tom Hanks? No. And precisely because of that, he has to have the right kind of role for him to be a compelling lead. But I think he can. I think he's compelling enough, even in the first Jurassic World. I can't disagree with what you said in regards to Dominion or even Fallen Kingdom, but in the first, I think he's good enough. Manuel, what do you think?
You kind of said it all. I think it was Chris Tuckman who said it. I watched his review for Hustle, and he said something that I wholly agree with, which is actors who will only do comedy for a long time are known as like comedy actors. Oh, they only know how to do comedy. But comedy is probably the genre where you really, really have to be a great actor, because you need to have time, you need to be funny, like genuinely funny, without even trying. And Chris Pratt, I think he has that acting shop that allows him to be a compelling lead in other movies. But it's like you said, I don't see him portraying Captain America, because I don't think he would have that seriousness that Chris Evans is able to input into the character. But as Star-Lord, or
Emmett from the
Owen,
Lego movie.
I think so, Owen, right, in the Jurassic
World. Jurassic World, yeah, Owen Grady.
I think it's great. I think it's a compelling lead. I think by far the problem that I had personally with the last two Jurassic World movies is definitely not Chris Pratt or even the acting overall. I think I have issues with Bryce Dallas Howard character more in the first movie, but acting wise, I think all of them are very compelling leads. I never had an issue with Chris Pratt. I always found him a very, very convincing protagonist. I think he can lead the movie very, very well. And I think the first Guardians is an example. I don't think he lost his touch or whatever. I think it depends a lot on how the character is written and what kind of movie he is in.
All right. Zach?
I love Chris Pratt as an actor. I kind of get tired of this stuff of like people like going after him for like no reason and giving him shit. Like those are, because there's tons of actors that do the same exact roles, and I understand that like when he was casted as Mario, people were like up in arms, but like we also haven't heard his voice.
Say no.
Yeah, like we haven't heard his voice like at all. Is it weird casting? Sure, but so like honestly for me, so is like the rest of the fucking Mario cast. Like the rest of the Mario cast is weird. Garfield, I don't care. Like I'm sure he's gonna play a fine Garfield. I think Chris Pratt is great in the roles that he gets. I have not seen the Terminal List. I actually heard decent things about it, so I'm looking forward to that. But I've never seen a Chris Pratt performance been like, God, that was awful. Like he's always good. Yeah. He's always good. And like what you said about the comedic stuff, like it's tough to do comedy. It really is. Like if you don't have that timing, it's not gonna work. But Chris Pratt has timing when it comes down to it. So it just really depends with what he works with. I think what people are getting tired of is his shtick, because it's the same shtick.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Probably give it. It seems like he's starting to transition away from that shtick, though, like with the terminal list and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see if that's what he ends up starting to do a little bit more of after Guardians 3, after, Garfield and Mario. And you also have to remember, guys, he has 2 kids. He has 2 kids. He has to make stuff that they want to see too, So, like, I don't know.
All right. Master of Gaming, have you seen the trailer for The Devil's Light in theaters? If so, what are your thoughts? I'm going to be honest, I have not even heard of this film, much less watch the trailer in theaters or in my computer. Zach?
Nope. No idea what this is.
All right. Manuel?
I've heard about the movie, but I've not seen the trailer for obvious reasons.
Okay, this is the Love and Thunder question. If I'm not mistaken, Manuel, you've also seen Love and Thunder at this point, right? Oh, you haven't. Okay. So, Zach, I'm going to ask the question. I'm then going to take my earphone out because I don't want to know anything. Feel free to do this anything you want, Manuel. And Zach, you then give me the thumbs up once your answer is over. So, Geeko EP, I think I asked this question before, and I know Zach has seen Love and Thunder and is under review embargo. So, without spoilers, can you give us a hint of what to expect from Love and Thunder? I have a feeling what might happen, knowing the Mighty Thor storyline from the comics, but I saw some reactors saying it's emotional, but it's not what you think, in their words. And knowing what the MCU deviates from the comics sometimes, and Taika loving to subvert expectations, I'm intrigued mainly because with where we're heading in the MCU, if Natalie Portman's going to stick around and be a main player for the next phase, or it's just one and done. Go.
I don't want to answer that without... I literally do not want to answer that. Just because it's under embargo and very few people have seen the film. So I'm gonna leave it at there. Ask it next week when it's out, and I'll talk more about that.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Also from Geeko EP, what did you guys think of Sam Raimi's quote about Kevin Feige casting John Krasinski as that universe's Reed Richards? Just for the fans. Some are taking
John
it.
Krasinski played Reed Richards when?
Some are taking it that John Krasinski might not be our Reed Richards in the main universe, but I wouldn't rule it out. I know people will mention No Way Home and Loki, where you have variants played by different actors, but Multiverse of Madness also show that the variant can be played by the same actor, Cumberbatch and Olsen. This is true. Even What If has variants who look like the actors, and Loki had a different variant that was played by Tom Hiddleston. So it could have been a test to see if people like him, and most people did. Twitter doesn't count because they judge a performance of a 3-minute cameo where he barely did anything. I wouldn't be mad if they got someone else, but they literally got the perfect guy for the job. This is not the first time a fan cast happened in the MCU. Look at Cumberbatch as Strange and Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. We're going outside the universe. We'll see if they announce the cast at Comic-Con or D23. I'm with you. I'm kind of with you. I can see it go either way. I'm not ruling it out. I'm now starting to believe, okay, maybe we'll get a different Reed Richards. But I wouldn't rule Krasinski out whatsoever at this point. I think it's still very possible that, yes, he did that for the fans, and now he's bringing him back as the main Reed Richards, also for the fans. Manuel, what do you think?
Really? I thought, I fully believe that, it was their smart way of announcing him as, like, Reed Richards.
I took it too.
I wouldn't be shocked to see another actor, and I wouldn't mind, but I think it's one of those fan castings that I can easily see working very well. Like Strange did, like Cumberbatch did with Strange, and Steinfeld with the I'm forgetting her name. What's happening? Ellie
Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Krasinski as Reed Richards could work very well. But I genuinely, I would be surprised if they were like, oh, you know what? It's not him. It's going to be someone else. And this was just a 3-minute random cameo just for the fans. It could be, but I think they're going to go with it. Maybe they'll announce it at San Diego to make it officially.
Yeah. Zach?
I don't think he is it.
Alright.
I really don't. I just I could be wrong, but the more and more I just hear stuff about it, I don't. But I am with you. I do think at San Diego Comic-Con they're gonna announce who's the Fantastic Four. Whether it's at the very end or the very beginning, they're gonna announce it. And I think they are gonna mention Krasinski, but I don't think it's gonna be Krasinski. I know fans will probably be like, "What the fuck?" But
I think if they announce it, Kevin Feige will mention like John Krasinski. He's a Reed Richards, but he's not our universe's Reed Richards. Here is, I don't know,
boom,
Charlie Hunnam as Reed. It's an awful choice for Reed Richards. I do love Charlie Hunnam.
It's Ren. It's Ren. Ren is actually playing Mr. Fantastic. No one knows.
I'm also an awful choice for Reed Richards.
I don't think so. I think you could play Mr. Fantastic because you're pretty fantastic.
Thank you. Gico EP. Since I watched Hustle, I know we bash on Adam Sandler's comedies, sometimes with good reason because a lot of them suck. But what's an Adam Sandler movie that critics hated but you liked? For me, it's 50. I like 50 First Dates, but I also have a guilty pleasure spot for his remake of The Longest Yard. I never thought The Longest Yard was too bad, but one Adam Sandler movie I really like. I don't think critics overall hated it, but it was very much in the 50s area on Rotten Tomatoes. People either thought it was okay or thought it was awful. I really like Click. I think that movie is so much fun. It's creative. It has the cheap Adam Sandler jokes, but it also has enough sentimentality and a creative premise and plot that I think really works. So I've always had a good time with Click. So I'm guessing you are both going to say Click as well?
Click, 50 First Dates. I just rewatched Billy Madison though, and I enjoyed it. And then I looked up the critics score, and it's like 10%. So I guess Billy Madison. Okay. Yeah, I was pretty shocked by that. To see how bad the score was.
Anything else to add, Manuel?
Well, I don't know if you said Click, because I remember when we were younger, because the movie came out in 2006, I think.
Yeah.
And so we were pretty young, and I think the movie was always on TV, basically. I think it really was. I remember watching it a bunch of times on TV, and that's why it kind of, became this kind of nostalgic film that I just find it's hilarious. I think, it's not the best movie of all time, but of all the Sandler movies that I think were panned by critics, this is the one that I'm like, this is funny. This is funny. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Gico EP, what are some of the worst movies starring/featuring some MCU actors or actresses? You don't have to cut the supporting players, but just the main heroes. I got some. I think to make it easy and fast, we're just going to go off the list you mentioned, Gico. RDJ, Shaggy Dog, or Doolittle. I've never seen Shaggy Dog, so I'm going to go with Doolittle. Do you agree? Do you have any other mentions, I guess?
I don't.
All right. Chris Evans, Fantastic Four. Chris Evans was the one that caught me off guard because I went to see there's got to be something worse than Fantastic Four. And he's done forgettable schlock, but I think I would have to, by default, say Fantastic Four out of the stuff I've seen from Chris Evans. Because I going through his list, I haven't seen everything he's done. But Fantastic Four. And if your worst movie is Fantastic Four, it's not a good movie, but you're doing all right. Zach, any other from
Not So Teen movie or whatever the fuck that thing's called. I don't like that movie.
Okay, that's fair.
Didn't you do a Netflix film with who was it? Shivata Ejiofor or something? Let me check.
With Dev Patel, I think. I haven't seen that movie, but that's a good shout. I think it's with Dev Patel.
Let me check.
No, or is Dev Patel the one with Armie Hammer?
That's the first one that came to my mind.
I know what you're talking. The Red Sea, something like that.
You're not far.
It's not too. It's like 2019 or.
The Red Sea Diving Resort.
The Red Sea Diving Resort. Okay. Got it. I haven't seen that though. I've not seen it.
It was with Michael K. Williams.
R.I.P. Chris Hemsworth, Huntsman: Winter's War. And he says, sorry, Ren, because I do enjoy that film, but you're wrong. It's either Black Hat or Vacation for Chris Hemsworth. Those movies are awful. Black Hat is boring. Vacation is awful. If anyone has any others, just feel free to interrupt me. Natalie Portman. Yeah,
I like Vacation. I'll just say that. I don't think it's as terrible as everyone thinks it is, but
his scene is pretty fucking awesome.
yeah. His other films, though, like Black Hat, if I've ever heard that his film sucked, I didn't go watch it. So I've never seen a back Chris Hemsworth film, in my opinion.
Natalie Portman, Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. I've never seen it, so by default, I'm going to go Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace for Natalie Portman.
Same.
Same.
Chris Pratt. I know it's easy to say movie 43, but I guess since it's not on my mind, Dominion, I would say movie 43. I don't think. I think it's even for the Minion, as disappointing as it is. I think it's pretty hard to, not to top, but to bottom movie 43. Zoe Saldana, Crossroads. I've never even heard of this film, so I'm going to say Colombiana. That was also not good. That was from the gentleman who brought us Taken 2 and 3, Olivier Megaton, or Megatron. I think it's Megaton. Bradley Cooper, All About Steve, No Contest. I have heard many things about this film, but I've never seen this film. Vin Diesel, The Pacifier, or Babylon AD. I'm going to go with The Pacifier because I've never seen Babylon AD. Paul Rudd, Dinner for Schmucks. It's a movie I quite enjoy, actually, but I don't remember like having a Paul Rudd film that I thought was really bad or bad to begin with. And I missed ScarJo. ScarJo for GKOP, it's Rough Night. I really enjoy Rough Night. I think it's the best girls' night comedy that came out that year, with the other one being Girls Trip. And so for ScarJo, I'm going to have the same you had for Samuel L. Jackson, which is The Spirit. That movie is awful. Sebastian Stan, The Apparition. I have never seen it. I don't even think I know The Apparition. For Tom Holland, Cherry, since he hasn't seen Chaos Walking. I didn't think any of these were horrible.
That's actually a good one. I think Chaos Walking would be as well.
I think I'd go with Chaos Walking, but I didn't think either of these was like horrible. Brie Larson's Sleepover. It's one of those forgettable early 2000s teen movies and stars Alexa Vega from Spy Kids and the young Evan Peters. I've never seen Sleepover. I don't think I knew of Brie Larson until Short Term 12, so I don't think I have seen a horrible movie with her. I didn't like Glass Castle, but it wasn't horrible, and it had a lot of good intentions. And finally, Angelina Jolie, Alexander, which is a really underrated movie, or The Tourist. I'm going to go with The Tourist here because I also don't dislike The Tourist entirely, but Alexander is quite good, I think. So The Tourist, I guess it's the worst one. Anyone else have any other shouts? All right, let's move on then. GKOP, have you guys watched any Siskel and Ebert or even Ebert and Roper videos on YouTube? And was Roger Ebert an inspiration for you guys? I've been on a kick watching those videos lately, and I thought about how they were basically the inspiration of talking film discussion on a mass public level. Without them, we wouldn't have guys like Stuckman, Double Toasted, etc. So, obviously, and I'm kind of glad Manuel is here today for this question, because I don't know how similar his experience will be to mine, but you guys know I'm not American, and English is still a second language for me. I only heard of Siskel and Ebert through Stuckman, through the Schmoes, through Johns, because those were the trifecta back in the day when I started getting into watching this stuff on YouTube. So I didn't grow up knowing or even hearing about film criticism or Siskel and Ebert. Through Stuckman, through the Schmoes, I got to hear this name, and eventually went down that rabbit hole. So I can't say they were an inspiration for me, but since hearing about them, I've gone down that rabbit hole, and I understand why they were the inspiration that they were. They are fantastic. There's a documentary called Life Itself, not a Prime movie. That movie is horrible. I have many things to say about that movie. But Life Itself, the documentary about Roger Ebert, is really good. My inspirations, I've said, since you guys have asked me a ton of times, and I've always said it's Stuckman, the Schmoes, and Johns. It was starting watching those guys, and I'm like, this would be fun to do. So yeah, I can't say it is they were an inspiration. But I've seen some of the videos that are on YouTube, the ones that I could find at the time. Zach, what? No, let me start with Manuel. Is your
Yeah,
experience similar to
we
mine,
have
or?
a we have a ridiculously similar
Yeah.
experience. Just basically everything that you said. I don't know if the first time that I heard the Roger Ebert name was through Stuckman, but I do. I think the best way to describe it is I've read a lot about him more than I have seen or listened to.
Mm,
And from
makes
what I've
sense.
read, I remember that what the one thing that people always commented about Roger Ebert was that even when it like very disliked the movie, he still managed to explain it in a way that even if you have the complete opposite opinion to his, you could understand why he didn't like the movie. And that kind of like mentality was what led me to start writing in a certain way. Like, okay, I don't like this movie, or I like this movie that no one is liking,
Yeah.
but I want to write it in a way that if someone completely disagrees with me, it can still read and be like, oh, okay, I don't agree, but I understand why he thinks differently. And that's kind of how I try to write nowadays. And that's kind of the main inspiration that I got from him. But I've read more about him that I've seen it, that I see.
All right. Zach, what about you? I bet yours is very different.
No, same. Heard
Oh,
through Chris Stuckman. Didn't know who the hell it was until Stuckman, and then kind of went down a rabbit hole for a bit. But I I I don't read a lot of other critics, to be honest. Like besides like Stuckman, Johns, Schmoes. I mean, that's who I watched growing up. Um, that's really my adventure with it.
all right. Jacoby, what in your opinion? We got 10 minutes left. What in your opinion is the worst kind of bad movie? For me, it's a disappointing one, as if you go into one movie expecting it to be bad. There's not that much to surprise, but when the movie looked like it had potential based on the premise and talent behind it, it's just depressing. Also, a mediocre movie, mainly because you'll likely forget about it after seeing it. For me, the worst kind of bad movie, if you've seen any of my reviews, you know I have this expression that I say a movie is boring as sin, because I think that's the worst sin a movie can commit. It's be boring, whether you're a drama, an action, a thriller, a comedy. If you want to get more specific, it's a comedy that's not funny. That's kind of goes along in the same way, because if you're not laughing, you're pretty bored. So for me, the worst kind of bad movie is a boring movie. If you're boring, you're doing a lot of things wrong already. Zach?
Same. If it's boring, that's gonna piss me off. If I'm not entertained, if I'm not sucked into your story,
Yeah,
what's the point? You know, even if you're the worst film in the world, but I'm still having fun, you know, then you're better than a boring film. Mothering
exactly.
Sundari, that is a very
Oh,
boring film.
yeah, and it has nudity, so it's a special kind of movie that to be boring. Manuel, what about you?
Yeah, kind of the same. I would have maybe those movies that you don't go in with exactly high expectations, but you leave the movie very frustrated because you knew that the movie could have been a billion times better.
Yeah.
And it's like the movie is bad, but then it's extra bad because it could have been so much better, and you leave kind of frustrated. It's kind of how I left Dominion, for example.
Yeah, true. GOP, is the Barbie movie now your most anticipated film of next year? And are you going to live in a Barbie world? So I don't know if it's my most anticipated, because I haven't properly started forming a list in my mind, but because it's so on the forefront, because it's all over the timeline on Twitter, it is up there. It's like my number one or two or three, because it's the one I'm most actively thinking about, because I can't avoid it. It probably is as it stands, but I haven't formulated a proper list. Manuel.
Well, I don't know if it's my most anticipated. I haven't actually, same as you, I haven't done a list, so I really don't know. Is an Avatar movie releasing next year as well or not?
No, next
No.
year. So it's Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar. So this year it's Avatar. Next week, next year supposedly it's Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie.
Maybe that one. I don't know. I haven't really checked
All
the
right.
list of what's next year.
All right, Zach.
It will not. There's no fucking way that film is coming out next year. because I think that film's gonna get. They're gonna say no Star Wars next year, and Dune is gonna move to December.
That's why I said supposedly.
Yeah. But no, Barbie's in like top 10 for sure.
Mhm.
But like, cause my number one's Indy or Dune. Like that's for
Yeah.
sure. Like my number one and two. But Barbie's my top 10. I'm really excited for that movie. It looks fun. It looks a lot of fun. Just can we stop taking photos though? Because I don't want to see the whole fucking film. Like, I've kind of over that now.
Same. P. How do you guys feel about Cameron Diaz coming out of retirement from acting, and what are your favorite movies from her that you've seen? I mean, if it's what she wants to do, sure. If she's happy doing it, all right, I'm down for it. What are my favorite movies from her? Probably The Mask. P goes on to name some. I enjoy the holiday fine enough. I think it's pretty forgettable, but it's also nothing horrible. The first two Shrek films, obviously, and I'm a big fan of the fourth Shrek film more than most people. But yeah, I'll probably go with The Mask. Zach.
Something About Mary. That movie's hilarious.
Right.
That's kind of like the one other than Shrek and stuff.
Manuel?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same as you. Shrek and Mask.
What are the best examples of media, whether a movie or TV show, that do a good job balancing humor and drama? The best example of this, Scrubs, has the silly humor but knows when to pull at the heartstrings. The best example, like off the top of my head, in recent years, Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit has a brilliant balance of comedy and drama. Both are extremely effective. Like, you are laughing hysterically in one moment and then just cuts you off precisely in the right way. Zach, any other?
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit is probably the best one that you can put out there, because that movie fucked me up, and it fucked my audience up. That is an experience. I'll just say, when you see the shoes, my entire audience gasped.
Same.
You were
8 a.m. screening at the London Film Festival, and when the shoes show up, a collective gasp in one of the biggest theaters here.
Yeah.
Manuel?
I was trying to remember another one, but I think Jojo Rabbit probably gets the choice.
Tony Movie Chappie. Question now. Knowing that Obi-Wan was originally going to be a movie trilogy before Solo bombed, I wanted to ask, do you guys think that Obi-Wan Kenobi would have worked better as a movie than a TV show? Yes. Make it a long movie. Make it like 2 hours 15, 2 hours and a half. It doesn't quite have to be 3 hours, but 2 hours 15, 2 hours and a half, and I think it would have been quite better. It would have been what we all expected the show to be. That being said, I think a show could have very much worked. If you want to do a show, commit to doing a show. But trim out a ton of that fat. Manuel?
Yeah, what he said. I think Obi-Wan Kenobi, for me, I think it was a great show. I really, really enjoyed it. But I think it's a series of moments. Like, you will, in a year, 2, 3, you will remember a lot of moments, but you probably won't remember exactly, like, from the first to the 6th episode, everything that happened story-wise with kidnapping and moving from place to place. And it's one of those TV shows that if you think a lot about it, you might find even more issues. So just, enjoy the ride. And that's kind of what I did for the last 2 episodes. And I really loved it. I think the finale was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it would work better as a movie, I believe.
Zach?
It should have been a movie. The more and more I hear about what that original script was, the more and more it makes me frustrated with the show, which I still really love the show. Because of what you said. Like, I just kind of went along with it. I have very different opinions on Star Wars. I love the franchise, but I don't really expect much out of it. Mandalorian's like really the only thing I really expect a lot of from now. I had a sinking feeling that Kenobi wasn't going to be the greatest thing that everyone thought it was going to be, but I don't know. It should have been a movie. I think they're stupid too for being scared of Solo. They learned the wrong stuff from Solo. They fucked Solo on themselves. That film got no marketing. That film was put in between Avengers Infinity War and Aladdin, which is just stupid. Then
And Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
that as well. Yep. And they're dumb because I remember that December, I had a ton of friends asking me, is Solo coming out in December?
Yep.
When you have the general going audience, people who I know asking where Solo is, and me telling them, oh, it came out 6 months ago, you can rent it now. There's an issue with your marketing. You fucked up.
I agree. All right, we can only take 2 more questions because of time, but every other question that we don't answer today, I'm going to save them from next week. So next week, you don't need to retype the questions because I'm going to save them, but we'll answer it next week. So penultimate question from Geek OVP. What are some movies where the elements of the plot you nitpick about and spot some plot holes in, but all the elements you're watching are so good that it doesn't bother you? Recent memory, I don't know how unpopular this is on such a specific level, but it's the thing that impede me from putting it in my number 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. So yeah, that's one where I was like, okay. So yeah, but again, it's still a really good movie, still in my top 10. Manuel, what about you?
Probably Endgame. As soon as you asked that question, I was like, I remember when it came out, I could be like half an hour talking with friends just about like how the time travel like created some, I don't know, minor holes in the story or whatever. But I was like, from the moment the last act begins, I was like, I don't care about those issues. They mean nothing to me. And I didn't mind, and I rewatched the movie a billion times, and it still works brilliantly. So yeah, that one.
All right, Zach?
Can you say it one more time, the question?
Movies where the elements of the plot you can nitpick and spot some plot holes in, but all the other elements you're watching are so good that it doesn't bother you.
I mean, that's a lot of movies, like no movie's perfect, really. You might rewatch it thousands and thousands of times, but I look at Star Wars. I guess going back to Star Wars, I have a lot of issues with a lot of those movies, but I can enjoy almost every single one for something, and I just kind of put it to the back frame of my mind, if something bothers me, I'm not gonna nitpick it to crap. So, yeah.
All right, final question, real fast. Tony Movie Chappie, do you guys think the reason why Marvel does only 6 episodes for the most part, except WandaVision and She-Hulk, is because it costs too much money, to have 10 or 12 episodes, especially with all the production design and building sets? That's any production. Any production in Hollywood should at least be very responsible with their budget and do it for the cheapest amount possible in a way that it's still good. How good can we make this, and how cheaper can we make it still be that good? So it's always a matter of cost. It's always a matter of how much do we need to spend. But I think Marvel has proven overall that their stories come first. And it's Disney. It's not like they need absolutely to be super worried about losing money, because they're not losing money. Their cruises are doing very well, as well as Zach and I are well aware. So yeah, it's always a matter of cost. A production company is exactly that. How much do we need to spend? Where are we spending it on? Is this wise to spend this much? And etc. Zach, anything to add?
Yeah, no. I mean, you pretty much nailed it on the head. But I will say, the Moon Knight creators got asked, did you want to do more episodes, or was 6 enough? And they said 6 was enough. I'm sorry not to believe that. I mean, these shows should be 8 episodes at most. Like, almost every Marvel and Disney Plus show that I've seen, I've said that could have easily been 2 more episodes. That could have easily been a couple more episodes. Like She-Hulk's, I think it's like what, 8, 9?
9.
Andor's 12. So same with WandaVision. So yeah, I don't know. That's my biggest issue with all these shows. They should all just be longer.
Even Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye. Yeah,
no,
I would say
Hawkeye is one that it could work better either way. Like if they didn't have so much going on, and if they had more going on. So, Hawkeye is a weird one. But
Hawkeye, I think it would have worked with 5. It would have worked with 8.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
what about you?
Said, basically.
All right. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. All right, that is it. Sorry for the rush last bit of the episode, everyone. I really have to get going. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us, Manuel, for the first time, hopefully not the last. Where can people find you, and what do you got coming up this week?
Yeah, at MSP Reviews at all social media. You can grab. I'm currently binge watching Stranger Things. I'm literally jumping to my couch right after I get off, so I can rewatch. So I can watch. Maybe I'm gonna try to watch until the 7th episode, and maybe try to watch Volume 2 tomorrow. But yeah, I'm just watching that now, and I'm going to try to watch Moon Knight because it's the only MCU content that I'm missing. So I'm gonna try to watch it before Thor: Love and Thunder. By the way, Zach, if I don't watch Moon Knight before Thor: Love
You're
and
fine.
Thunder,
You would be very fine. Okay. I'll tell you that. You would be absolutely fine.
Just to know. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for welcoming me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you. It was very nice to meet you finally.
Hopefully not the last time. Zach, what do you got coming up?
Thor: Love and Thunder, a bunch of MCU stuff. Miss Marvel, I'm gonna get back into this week. The Boys finale, all that sorts of fun stuff.
All right, starting Monday, Thor Ragnarok review, the Sea Beast review, Thor: Love and Thunder review, Ms. Marvel review, The Boys season 3 review. I'm probably going to do more than just one video on The Boys. I'll be doing a Thor movies ranking. I'm not going to do MCU movies ranking. I'm leaving that till after the last movie of 2022 comes out. I don't think it's coming out in 2022, but they still haven't delayed it, so I'm keeping my hopes up. So lots of MCU content, lots of content in general. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, to follow both the gentlemen, and stay tuned for the reviews. Thank you so much. Until the next time, love each other.